All right, so we're going to move into the last section of Unit 6, which is 6.4, which is going to deal with flowers, structure, and a little bit of information about seeds. So flowers have a few different functions. One of those functions is that it's going to contain the sexual organs for the plant. We'll talk about the different types of flowers. Some flowers contain both male and female reproductive organs on the same flower. Some contain one or the other. So we'll talk about those here in a minute. Some flowers produce fruit, which is going to protect and nourish the seeds as well as carry them. And flowers also attract insects, and this is important for pollination, which is how flowers are ultimately reproduced. You will need to know the parts of the flower. So if you want to kind of go through this video and pause and write down or draw or find you a labeled chart of parts of the flower, you will need to be able to do that. So sepals, and you can see here the picture here, sepals are the outer covering of the flower bud. Protects the stamens as the pistils when the flower is in bud stage. It is collectively known as a calyx. So the sepal are those tiny little leaf, real thick, waxy looking leaf things at the bottom of a flower. Petals, we all know what petals are. These are the brightly colored parts of the flowers. They are also used for protection of the stamen and pistils, and it attracts pollinating insects with their scents and the colors. And collectively, they're called the corolla. All right, so the stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower, and it is made of the anther and the filament. So the anther is the top part, which is where the pollen is produced, and the filament is the structure or the support structure for the anther. And your pistil is a female reproductive part, and it's got three different parts to it. You have the ovary and the stigma and the style. So the ovary is the enlarged portion at the base or the bottom of the pistil, and it produces the ovules, which develop into seeds. The stigma is the top part, which is going to catch and hold the pollen grains, and the style is what connects the stigma with the ovary, and it supports the stigma so that it can be pollinated. This will be a good slide to pause the video if you would like and get this into your notes. It's a pretty good little chart that's labeled. All right, so the different types of flowers. There are imperfect flowers where they may have male or female reproductive organs, but they do not have both. So an example is a male flower has sepals, petals, and stamen, but no pistils, or a female flower will have sepals, petals, and pistils, but no stamen. Perfect flowers are going to contain both male and female reproductive structures in the same flower. Incomplete flowers are missing one of the four major parts of the flowers, and those parts are the stamen, pistil, sepal, or petals. Incomplete flowers contains male and female reproductive organs along with petals and sepals. All right, so we'll put it together, and you may have to replay the slide a few times. Imperfect flowers are always incomplete, but perfect flowers are not always complete. Think about that. Okay, a perfect flower had both male and female reproductive organs, right? But it may not be a complete flower. Incomplete flowers are always perfect. So again, imperfect flowers are always incomplete, but perfect flowers are not always complete, and complete flowers are always perfect. So the importance of flowers. So of course it's important in the business of forest or for a florist or nursery. Many plants are grown solely for their flowers, for their aesthetic value. Plants have flowers to attract insects for pollination, but people grow them for beauty and economic value. Pollination is extremely important in food production as well. It's often overlooked. So the process of pollination, which is driven by the flowers, is just as important for the ecosystem as the production of flowers for economic value of humans, if not more important. All right, so last little bit, we'll deal with seeds. We see the term cotyledons, which is an embryonic leaf in a seed-bearing plant, one or more of which are the first leaves to appear from a germinating seed. So a dicot is going to have two cotyledons. And typically with dicots, we see flowering plants, also known as angiosperms. Monocots are going to have one cotyledon or one embryonic leaf. And these are typically grasses. Corn is another example of a monocot. Epicotyl is a region of a seedling stem above the stalks of the seeds leaves of an embryo plant. Hilum is a scar or mark left on a seed coat by a former attachment to the ovary wall. And radicle is the part of the plant embryo that develops into the primary root. So with black-eyed peas, what gives the name black-eyed peas is this area here, and that is an example of a hilum. So within a young plant, you see the hypocotyl is the part of the stem of an embryo plant beneath the stalks of the seed leaves or cotyledons and directly above the roots. And the plumule is the rudimentary shoot or stem of an embryo plant. It's just some vocab terms. And then, of course, important flower crops or anything that a lot of people are getting ready to buy as Valentine's Day is coming up here in a couple of weeks. There's a whole industry devoted to flowers, and you can order them online now and have them delivered within a day. So it's an extremely major business in our society. And that's the end of Unit 6. Be sure you complete the form that goes with this. And if you have questions, please let me know. Thank you.